Hello, hello, back again. Okay, so day 1, 2, 3, 4. The trait perspective. This one's kind of fun to do on your project, I think, but it's a project at the same time. Okay, so the trait perspective. If you think of a personality trait, that's normally like this. What we're about to talk about is normally what we think about personality, having certain traits. Okay. In general, what is a trait? How would you define a personality trait? Well, it's probably a way to describe somebody's personality, right? That is enduring, right? And it lasts. So here's your official definition. A characteristic pattern of behavior, right? That means that you have a characteristic about you. That's a pattern. And it's a disposition to feel or act a certain way. Right? How are you disposed to act? Okay? So, for example, if you're dependable, right, that would be a trait. It's a pattern of behavior that is pretty consistent, right? Okay, this bothers me. Why you can't see this? Can't fix it. Oh well. Impulsive, moody, honest, there are a lot of words out there that could probably describe personality, right? Well, one guy, Allport, decided to research this and found 18,000 different personality traits. So, that's a lot, right? Probably too many. And there are kind of other famous ways to look at personality. If you think of traits, the Myers-Briggs. Have you heard of that? Myers-Briggs. So this is a pretty famous test that you can take. 2.5 million Americans take it a year. I've taken it in college. It's expensive to take. I would do it for you guys, but it's expensive. You can do kind of like cheap ones online if you guys want to look into this. But what it does is it gives you 4 letters that describe a personality after you do this big inventory, big questionnaire. What's the point of it? It's supposed to help you, A, understand yourself better, and B, maybe help career-wise. That's why I took it in college. It's supposed to help you kind of guide you to certain careers based on your personality. Okay, so here are the 4 parts. Number 1, are you extroverted or introverted? We've talked about this before. Extroverted means that a lot of times you get your energy from the outside world, from people, from interactions. Or introverted means that basically you care more about your inner world. You get your energy from being by yourself, or not even just by yourself, like a small group. I used to always hear it, or large groups, they energize you or do they drain you? And that helps define what you are. Okay? Sensing or intuition. Sensing or intuition. So sensing would basically say that you focus on the present information that you get, right? If you get this information, you kind of go with it, you run with it. Or intuition, the other side of that is that's not enough for you. You want to break it down and find patterns and come up with theories. And so it's a little bit more going with what you're given, or you want to break it down more. Okay? Thinking or feeling. That one kind of sounds pretty straightforward. Are you a thinker? Are you a logic person? Or do you care more when you make decisions? Are you worried more about personal concerns for others? Some people are like, well, yeah, that's important, but the logic behind it is a little bit more important. And just so you know, with all 4 of these, when you get your results, they give you a spectrum. So you can be like extremely over here on the extroverted side, right? Or you can be extremely on the introverted side, or you can be kind of in the middle, or even in the dead middle. Okay? Last one. Judging or perceiving. Judging or perceiving. And this is kind of an interesting word that they use there, but for judging, do you like a pretty decided lifestyle, right? Pretty set in stone, or are you a flexible, spontaneous person? That change and you don't know what's going to happen kind of thing. Does that excite you or does that stress you out? All right? Okay, so you get 4 words or 4 letters. For example, I am an E. I was barely an extrovert. E. N, which is the N in intuition. E-N. F, feeling. And J. I'm not hugely spontaneous, but I'm not all the way at the end. Okay, so what do you think Obama would be? Extrovert or introverted? I think he, because I know him so well, I think he would be extrovert, but not as much as you would think. I think a lot of even teachers, it's our job to pretend to be extroverted, but in the real world, where do we get our energy from? That kind of thing. What do you think? Is he focused on sensing or intuition? I think he's intuition. This is just my random guess. Logic or personal concerns? Probably a little bit more logic. Maybe not all the way. Judging or perceiving? I think with logic with lawyers, by the way. Judging or perceiving? I have no clue what he is. Okay. What about President Trump? President Trump, extrovert or introverted? I don't know. Extroverted, maybe? Sensing or intuition? I'm going to say sensing. Thinking or feeling? I'm going to go feeling. I think he goes a little bit on with emotions. And then judging or perceiving? Again, I have no clue. Okay, that's fine. So, I think on the project you have to do this for your person. I think. I don't remember. Okay. So, we've got all Porter came up with 18,000 traits, right? Now, that's a lot of traits. So how do you break that down to a manageable number? Well, there's a statistical analysis called factor analysis. We're going to talk more about that word in the next chapter, I think. But I'm going to kind of give you a quick breakdown of this. So basically, if you have 18,000 traits, some of those words are going to be pretty similar to each other, right? How about extroverted and talkative? Maybe those two go together, right? So they're basically, you can run this analysis with either fun smart people or a computer built by smart people. And it can determine which words, which character traits are related to each other. So here's a picture. Kind of like this. There we go. And so if you've got, this is a small version of it, all these different words, let's say. Well, the program can basically say, well, these are all similar, and let's call this proactive leadership. Or if we're talking about personalities, these are all similar, let's call this extroversion. Let's call these, all these things are similar, humility. Let's call all these, I don't know. So anyway, basically saying that statistical analysis can basically reduce your amount of words. Okay? Okay. Well, the iSyncs decided that 18,000 was too much, so they came up with 2. There's 2 dimensions that personality comes down to. Extroversion versus introversion, right? And emotional stability versus instability. Okay? So, if here are your spectrums or your dimensions. Okay, let's pick a person. Lady Gaga. It's interesting, my view of her has changed over time. Is she introverted or extroverted? What do you think? Okay, I'm going to say introverted a little bit. Even though she's a performer. No, I don't know. Okay, is she stable or unstable? Back in the day when she wore a meat outfit, I probably would have gone more unstable up here, right? So then you could say if she's introverted and unstable, here are words that might describe her. She's moody, anxious, rigid, sober, pessimistic, which I don't know if those are true. Okay. Oh, how about this beautiful person? Introverted or extroverted? I'm going to go barely extroverted, not very much. So that's where I would be on the spectrum. And then stable or unstable. You better say I'm stable. So here are kind of traits that might describe me. Social leadership, carefree, lively. Gosh, this sounds so lovely. Okay. Now, there are a ton of inventories out there. Basically, that's a fun way of saying surveys, questionnaires that can describe a personality. Okay? And there's a lot of psychological ones that have some research behind it. That's how they find out a lot of times of what you are. So like the Myers-Briggs, that's a personality inventory. But I want you to know this is important. There's a ton out there that are not always accurate, right? You've seen all the stupid ones online. Like, what color are you? What Jersey Shore character are you? I mean, it's ridiculous. Let me click on this. Point is, while this is loading, just because it says it's analyzing your personality, I hope you know and you're smart enough to know that these are not psychologically backed. Stranger Things, Good Doctor, Riverdale, the Flash character. Which Dancing of the Stars character are you? Grey's Anatomy. I mean, it's just, I bet these are so accurate. Okay? Alright, enough of that junk. Okay, here we go. Almost done. Now, the most used one, though, that is psychologically researched is the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. And that's the most researched and clinically used of all personality tests out there. Interestingly enough, they actually used it originally to identify emotional disorders. But if you can kind of see this, what they found is that people that go through treatment, so anxiety, depression, whatever, take this test and then they take it after the treatment. A lot of times there are, hopefully if the treatment's good, there are changes in their inventory scores. Okay, you have a sheet that I want you to fill out. So pause this and fill that out, and this is testing your personality. And then I'm going to tell you what it means. Okay, you may need to pause this along the way for you to do this, but this, after you have answered all those questions, I want you to go to, gosh, my voice, go to these numbers and reverse the score. Actually, why don't you do this? I'm going to tell a number to you and go put a star by it, okay? So right now I want you to go put a star by number 6, by number 21, number 31, number 2, number 12, number 27, number 37, number 8, 18, 23, 43, 9, 24, and 34, and then 35 and 41. Okay, this is something that psychologists do on questionnaires. So I'm going to ask you to reverse the numbers that you put by those stars. So for example, number 6, if you put a 1, I want you to write next to that, that's actually a score of a 5. If you put a 2, that's actually a 4. 3, you don't reverse that, it stays the same. 4 becomes a 2, and a 5 becomes a 1. So go ahead, all those ones that you starred, go ahead and reverse those scores. All those ones that you starred. If you don't understand, ask somebody that does. And pause me while you do this. Okay. So now, after you've reversed all those, alright, I'm going to have you, I want you to write the word canoe down below. C-A-N-O-E. Okay? And for C, okay, I'm going to have you add up all these numbers that you put down there. Okay? Add up your scores. So, okay, so I want you to add your reverse score of 8, 18, 23, and 43. Okay? 3, 13, 28, and 38. Okay, so you add all those up. And that range, you should be somewhere between 9 and 45. Okay? So that's conscientiousness. We'll talk about that in a second. Alright, A. Here, I'm just going to highlight these for you so you can look up here and do it. I'll read them too. Okay, I want you to add all your numbers for 2, 7, 12, 17, 22, 27, 32, 37, 42. So those highlighted numbers. That's A. Okay, now let's go to N. Alright, here's your numbers right there. Remember, some of these are reversed. 4, 9, 14, 19, 24, 29, 34, and 39. That's N. Okay, now let's go O. These numbers right there. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 41, and 44. Alright, last one. E. Okay, here's your numbers. 1, 6, 11, 16, 21, 26, 31, and 36. Alright? Okay. So you should have a total for each of these. For each letter. Okay, so let's talk about what these letters mean. Alright. Okay, so what you just did is called the Big Five. The Big Five, and that's a pretty famous trait personality. Okay, the Big Five traits. So remember, 18,000. That's too big. Hans Eysenck had 2, and they said that's too small. So we'll go with 5. 5 is just right. Okay. I hope, just again, that you're taking notes during all this. But okay, here are the 5 traits: conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness, and extroversion. And your mnemonic to remember this, because you definitely need to remember these, is canoe. C-A-N-O-E. Canoe. Okay, let's talk about what each one means. We'll talk about your scores, and then we'll talk about how to do this for your famous person, for your project. Okay? Alright, so conscientiousness. Have you ever heard that word? Are you conscientious? So, if you are conscientious, they would say that you have these attributes right there. Okay? You are organized, you're careful, you're disciplined. Conscientious, sometimes it means that you're considerate of things, and that can be considerate of other people or considerate of time. Now, on the other spectrum, if you're not conscientious, you would be disorganized, careless, impulsive. Now, can be benefits to being not conscientiousness, right? Impulsive. What's a positive thing from being impulsive? A lot of times it means you can be spontaneous and creative, right? Okay, so that's conscientiousness. Agreeableness. Have you ever heard of what does it mean if you are agreeable? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends on who you talk about. But agreeableness means that you tend not to rock the boat, right? You're helpful, you're trusting, it's a soft-hearted. You tend to, not rock the boat and help others. The other side says ruthless, suspicious, uncooperative. Those are pretty negative, I would say. Fun fact, Mr. Marchman got the award of being most agreeable in like kindergarten or something.
Most cooperative.
I thought you got agreeable.
Cooperative.
I've been telling that story for forever that you get most agreeable. Are you sure?
Yeah.
No.
No, I don't agree with you.
Cooperative, a synonym for agreeable. Next, neurotic. Neuroticism. Have you heard of neuroticism? If you're neurotic, is that usually a good or bad thing? Usually not a good thing. Okay. This one's interesting. If you are neurotic over here, these are the neurotic qualities. Shoop. Okay. Anxious, insecure, self-pitying. A lot of times it goes with emotional instability there. You're neurotic. When I hear it used most is, God, stop being so neurotic. And like you're checking things, you're kind of anal, you're crazy, or versus the other side is you're calm, secure, self-satisfied. Okay? Okay. Openness. If you're open, what does that mean? Open to what? Open to new ideas, open to being spontaneous, open to others' opinions. Versus the other side of that is practical, routine-like openness. Now, again, I don't know necessarily if that is always a positive. There can be negative attributes there too, right? And then lastly, extroversion. We've already talked about that. Sociable, fun-loving, affectionate versus retiring, sober means a little more serious, reserved. Okay, so on your sheet with those letters, if you are at the high end of the numbers, then you tend to be more conscientious, more agreeableness, more neurotic. So you can kind of look at those qualities there, compare it with your partner. Am I more neurotic than you? So for your project, you have to figure out, I think the only thing with this one might be that you have to go through each one. Are they conscientious? Why or why not? Okay. Are they agreeable? Why or why not? And neurotic? You get the point here, right? Like President Trump, agreeable? Probably not, right? Maybe a lot of leaders aren't, right? Maybe that makes them more leadership-ish. Okay, so just to kind of close this out, so this is the trait perspective. Do our traits persist over time? Right? And the answer is yes. For the most part, they have found that our personality traits correlate with later in life. So if you're a stubborn 5-year-old, you might be a stubborn 15-year-old too, and a stubborn 25-year-old. Now, interest in careers and relationships will change, but those underlying traits probably won't. They tend to be stable. So if I think about Hanley right now, she is happy, she's stubborn, strong-willed, excitable. So that might be her as a teenager. We'll see. All right, time for you to work on your project, and then we have one left. All right, peace out.